Welcome to the official Property Entrepreneur podcast. It is the first of the month, ladies and gents, which means it's time to lift the bonnet on some of the UK's most creative, lucrative and award-winning deals on our Deals podcast with my good friend, Mr. Mark Barrett. Mark is an award-winning entrepreneur. He has a wealth of experience in property investing. He's done 25 years as a landlord, 10 years as a broker, and he's been sourcing property deals for other people for over a decade. Mark joined us on the Property Entrepreneur board in 2016 and has been a board member ever since, which is our highest level program where I work directly with our Property Entrepreneur board members. He's done over 50 option deals, as well as delayed completions, planning gains, commercial developments, and over 40 HMO conversions. As well as property, Mark was also the founder of the HMO agency. He now runs the property brokerage, which broker property deals for landlords and investors. So he knows this stuff inside out. And during these podcasts, what he's going to do is share everything he can with his experience, his expertise, his wisdom and insight to give you all the information and the inspiration you need to apply this in your own business. Each month, on the first of the month, Mark's going to be interviewing some of the UK's market-leading and award-winning investors and developers to show various deals, structures and strategies to enable you to apply this in practice. It's the first of the month. It's time for deals. So over to you, Mark.
Hi, I'd like to give a warm welcome to my next guest, Jay Chauhan. How you doing, Jay?
Very well, thanks, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, great. So I remember us meeting when I joined the Property Entrepreneur board, which was 2016. So quite a few years back. We've had some good times since then. You actually joined, didn't you, before that, I think?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, well remembered. Yeah, so we met 2016, but I actually joined just a few months before, back in 2015 it was. So this was Property Entrepreneur before it was kind of Property Entrepreneur. So it was literally, I remember 5 of us around sort of a boardroom table right at the start of Property Entrepreneur, and so it's escalated to hundreds in a room now, and still though a brilliant community.
Oh, it's amazing. And to see the kind of from us going into like Nottingham into the boardroom there to now at the Belfast. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, big transition, but it's brilliant.
Yeah. So I know you as like Berkshire Corporate Group, and you've got a few businesses. So you're also you're a creator, aren't you, as far as wealth dynamics are concerned?
Yeah. So in terms of wealth dynamics, I'm at the top of the spectrum in terms of being a creator, and then secondary got a bit of mechanic in me. So yeah, all about the ideas. Starting things, maybe not so good at finishing, get bored quite easily as well, and always got the shiny penny syndrome. So that's my profile when I last did it.
But that kind of like works well with your brother, who's he's a tempo like me, so you obviously a good team together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure obviously we'll touch on it, but so started the business that we're gonna obviously talk about today, select property leasing with my brother, who is, like you said, a tempo, so very good in the moment, dealing with people, problems, and got good sort of tolerance for patience as well, in comparison to me anyway.
So for those that don't know you, do you want to just give you a bit background?
Yeah, sure. So as Mark said, I'm Jay, based down in London. Got a couple of businesses, predominantly development, HMO portfolio, so we invest as well. And most recently, over the last couple of years, started a back-to-back leasing company with my brother, off the back of what could only be deemed some not so positive news, but obviously it came about the idea off the back of that.
Yeah, I think it's funny how things come around. And sometimes the biggest, we get challenges that become like opportunities. Just before we go into that, what was you actually doing before property?
Yeah, so I used to work in the city, so had a bit of a corporate background, doing bid work. So I was doing sort of tendering contracts for the MOD. But my last, if you want to call it employed role, was actually as a property manager. So I used to work for a company assisting them to dispose of all their assets. So they had sort of a multi-million-pound portfolio, which was to do with sort of retirement living in that sort of area.
Oh yeah.
So I was up and down the country meeting agents, and yeah, just taking over sort of disposal of their assets, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Just to go down, see the different properties, which were not in the greatest condition, but that they were still part and parcel of a large portfolio.
And then when did you do the transition then into full-time property?
Yeah, so I started investing while I was working down in South Wales. So doing a lot of flip projects whilst working. So I was quite lucky in that we had a good team down in South Wales. It was a 3-hour journey.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to do, didn't have the capacity anyway to do it, was to drive down midweek to get down there. So I'd say it was sort of 3 years post corporate that I then decided to, do property full time, and still carried on doing it in South Wales before bringing it back closer to home, where I was based in Reading, to then build a local portfolio where I felt there was significant capacity for growth, as well as real good cash flow, especially when we jumped onto the HMOs.
Okay, so we're going to now talk about one of your newer businesses, Select Property Leasing. Do you want to just give us the backstory as to when that started and how that started there?
Yeah, so backstory with that was March 2020. Obviously, we all dealt with lockdown, with COVID, which was literally completely no one was aware of what was coming. So I had a sale that was agreed on a block of flats. So Berkshire Corporate is a development company, so we've just done 14-unit scheme, and had a organisation like a housing association who wanted to purchase it at full asking.
Yeah.
Got a call from my solicitor sort of I think it was on a Tuesday, and just said they've pulled. And I said, okay, any reason why?
Yeah.
And he said, I'll be honest, no. There was no reason with the building or anything like that. And then it came to light that they'd had cold feet because of what was going on with COVID and the lockdowns. Right. So yeah, very disappointed, but thought, right, this isn't going to last. It's going to be, I don't know, a few days, maybe a week, then pick up the phone and we'll get it back into legals. But in the meantime, that's when I started then doing some research, say, right, it was a good outfit. They offered obviously full asking, which is, as a developer, that's what we want. So I started just doing research to find other organisations similar to them, similar sector. And that's when we then stumbled across a few organisations, one in particular that started having conversations with, and it was quickly understood that they had a real big appetite for housing and wanting to lease that housing all over the sort of the southeast, as well as the Midlands, and then going up into the north. So yeah, we had some conversations with them, and I think November 2020 was when we first sort of did the sort of proof of concept with the idea, and we rolled out 5 houses to them, and from there sort of built up to where we are now.
Okay, so I think people will probably want to know, where are you now? So in that kind of period, how many what is the shape of the business now? How many units do you now have?
Yeah, sure. So we're at 22 houses now, and the way we've done our business model is we look at per unit. So a unit is effectively, even if you've got a room in a house, we'd call that as a unit. So we're at 123 units since that November 2020. And we've just passed 15k per month as a gross profit level as well.
Amazing. So 180,000 cash flow from that business. Fantastic.
Yeah. Especially how it came about, I think, from like I said, the disappointment and the opportunity that it's created. And it's real promising space to be in right now.
Yeah, because obviously on Property Entrepreneur, we talk about the wealth hierarchy and having the cash flow, profit and assets. And obviously that is a great example of a cash flow business. Yeah,
and it's good point you make, because that, I remember one of the sort of sessions that we had on Property Entrepreneur, we talk about crest-of-a-wave and niche strategies. Yeah. And it was mentioned as a potential niche strategy to keep your eye on, or worth looking at.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother and myself came away from that day and we thought, brilliant. When we've got sort of seal of approval from Property Entrepreneur, it's always great to hear. And we thought, right, we've really got to focus on this and really go for it. So that was really good to hear, especially coming from obviously the community that we've got.
Yeah. And also, I think the point you made is like, the 15,000, that's basically you and your brother. It's quite a small team, isn't it? It's not, you've got loads of staff.
Yeah, so we wanted to be quite lean and sort of grow as we needed to. So we got a team of 6 at the moment. A few of them are virtual as well. So it's quite a small team, and it does, it's still got enough capacity to do what we need to do right now.
Yeah.
But we have got obviously growth numbers that we want to hit still as part of our business plan. So no doubt that team will grow as we sort of work towards that.
Yeah. So when you're saying that, is that what kind of roles are they? Is it like virtual assistants? What kind of position?
Yeah, so we've got an operations assistant that sort of assists my brother with the day-to-day. We've then got admin, business development, and then finance as well, are the main sort of roles.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So do you want to just explain what the model is? How you actually, so you don't own these properties, how you go about leasing them, and then obviously, getting a lease on the back end.
Yeah, sure. So we effectively, when we're speaking to our clients, we're offering them sort of a guaranteed rent solution. Now, before we started, we wanted to really, we spent a couple of sessions having a look at the stigma around sort of guaranteed rents, which we feel, a lot of landlords now, there's letters flying away everywhere. We own HMOs ourselves, so we get sort of these rent-to-rent letters, if you like. So we wanted to ensure that we stood out and were different, because the offering that we do provide is very different in terms of what landlords are typically used to. So we would explain that to them, sort of give them, at the time, like the first sort of landlord we took on, student landlord, due to COVID, all the students have gone home. So, we sort of hit home that message that this is a very strong tenant profile if that was to happen again, because no one knew what was going on, really. It was sort of an unknown for everyone, including landlords. So we felt that message did hit home really well. And that's where we sort of created the opportunity to offer guaranteed rent, but then obtain those leases purely for the clients that I spoke about in terms of in the sort of social housing space.
Well, you're saying the social housing, is that like homeless, asylum seekers, those kind of like tenant types, is it?
Yeah. So it's a variety. So it's anywhere from sort of charities to the vulnerable. We've also worked with some care providers as well. So there's localized care providers that have got their different sort of tenant profile sets as well. So they've got their own remit. We work with them to procure suitable housing for them. So it's good to have that sort of circle to call upon. Because it's not one size fits all. They've got their requirements, but we are confident that the housing that we can source will tick one of their boxes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's good, where you can get a property and then say, right, where do we think is like a good fit for this? And then maybe have like a different, a few different options.
Yeah,
As opposed to just having one provider, and then if they don't take it, you can't do anything with it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and it's good to have also one, from our perspective, having one point of contact as our tenant, rather than, we've done it before. When I first started off local, was doing sort of rent to rent as it is still known today, but finding 5, 6 individual tenants, and then dealing with, if 3 rooms are empty, that sort of headache is eliminated with using this strategy, which is a big plus for us as well.
Yeah. So with that, there's no voids for you. And what kind of like lease terms, what kind of lengths do you normally work?
So we try and aim for as long as possible, but again, it's got to work for all our clients, i.e., if landlords or block owners really want sort of a shorter lease, then we maybe drop that down to 3 years as a minimum. We tend to find that if it is 3 years, then we've got clauses in there to say that if you're happy, then we'll extend them. We can't really see what reason, unless they've got reasons to sell or something else, that why they wouldn't want to carry them on. So it's typically, say, between 3 to 5 years initially.
Yeah. And of the 20 odd properties, what's the property types, would you say? Is it mostly HMOs? You have some just normal properties like buy to let types?
Yes. So when we started, our main marketing strategy or campaign was targeting student properties. So it is your typical example would be a 6-bed HMO set up with 2 bathrooms, 2 shower rooms, and a separate toilet. So I'd say fair bit of the stock is that sort of student stock. So not your high-end feature wall, all ensuite professional HMOs, but more that sort of middle B stock student profile property.
Yeah. Have you got a particular property that you can just go through the numbers on?
Yeah, sure. So give you it's one of the actually last ones we've done. So it's came about from a landlord that I've just sort of been keeping in touch with over, I think, 3 years actually. So he did have a few properties in the area, ended up selling them, but I just nudged him, dropped him, I think, a text just to say, how are you getting on with your properties that you've got left. He fitted our what we call an ideal avatar. So he was a one-man band landlord. Lived 150 miles away from the area where he had his properties, and he always had voids. And I think when I spoke to him, he said, look, I've only got 1 tenant in there, and this was during COVID. So sorry, not during COVID, this was just after COVID. So he had a lot of work to be done. He hadn't been up to the property. So after some negotiation, we agreed a 2-month rent-free period up front. That would allow us to then do the works, which we split. So we done the works and split the cost with him. On the basis that he obviously would get the property back in a similar position, in a similar condition to that. We found out as well that it had a really poor, really old boiler and plumbing system. So he agreed as well to put in a brand new boiler. We just manage it and get our contractors to do it, but he'd pay for it. And in the end, we agreed a lease with him at £2,000 per month over 5 years, and we managed to get one of our clients to take that at 3,800 over the same period as well.
Right, amazing.
So initial costs were just under 4,000 to set that property up, and we're now just started cash flowing sort of 1,800 per month.
So that's over 100,000 from that property then.
Over the 5 years. So it's one of my favorite ones. Not just obviously the numbers are great, but just I think one of the things I really believe in being the art of follow up, and it's obviously brought a deal like that to us, which is great.
Amazing. So what a journey then, the last couple of years to build that, that business up. I'm sure you've had like lots of learnings in that. What would you say the top 3 tips would be, Jay?
Yeah, so I'd say number 1 for me would be know your numbers and really, try and stick to them. I think when we first started, we wanted to, there is a sort of view to take, I think, in my opinion, about playing the long game as well, because first landlord that we met had 5 properties that we knew, if we took a few on, he'd want to give us the rest. So we didn't stick to the numbers as per our business plan, but I'd say knowing your numbers and sticking to them is key. So that'd probably be tip number 1. Tip number 2, try to keep in mind being everything to someone and not something to everyone. We've got our ideal avatar. We know what their problems are, and we want to, make sure that we can give them everything that we know and the solution that will solve their problem.
Yeah. And
finally, number 3, I think it's got to be fortune is in the follow-up. So in your sales process, whether a yes today is not, a yes today doesn't mean you can't follow up and get a yes tomorrow, sort of thing. So definitely have a follow-up system to keep nurturing your leads, because there's always different times when your solution or what you're trying to achieve might work for your leads.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's great tips. Just looking at the kind of like what you've said. So based on your kind of average, I think it's about £700 a month per property. And with some of the clients that I speak to that are looking to kind of get involved in property or level up in property, the kind of numbers tends to be one of 4 numbers that people are looking to achieve through property, which is like 3K, which, quite a lot of people can live off, 5K, 10K, or for people that are earning a lot, then they might look to replicate what they're earning as like a separate income stream. But, probably most people could live off the 3K, and based on your numbers, that probably 6 properties?
Yeah, so I think, say 3K, the reality of sort of making 3, 5K, even 10K.
So 5 properties.
Yeah, I think it is very realistic to do that, to do those numbers, if you know what you're doing and also how to do it.
Yeah.
And also, the most important thing, you've got the right attitude and work ethic. So if you're prepared to put in the work, like you said, 3K, you could do that with a handful of properties. With 5 properties, quite easily, 3K could be achieved. And again, you only need 1 portfolio landlord to make that happen. So I'd definitely say that's plausible. Yeah.
Okay. So for anybody that's looking to get in touch with you, do you want to just share any particular subjects or things that you might be interested in, and also how people can contact you?
Yeah, sure. So anyone who's wants to find out a little bit more about strategy and how it works, we are looking at helping other people, whether that's through consultancy or some coaching. So feel free to give us a shout. LinkedIn, Jay Chauhan, same with Facebook as well. Instagram on there is Jay Does Property, and I will also provide my email address for you, Mark, so you can just maybe put it in the notes for anyone who prefers dropping me an email as well.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Another, great business that you've set up there. So well done, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you, Mark. Cheers. All the best.
All right. Cheers, Jay.
Thanks.